who better to drag Jason to hell than Freddy? Oh my God. And I called Mark Radesky and Mike DeLuca, got them out of bed late at night, and I said, hey, can I get Freddy's glove and the laugh, Robert's laugh? And they're like, what do you want it for? And I pitched them the ending. These two guys lived in opposite sides of LA. You could hear them high-five each other from 5 miles apart.
What's up, everybody? Ryan from JoBlo.com coming to you from Crystal Lake Nightmares, a convention in Los Angeles that celebrates 45 years of Friday the 13th. I'm here to talk to your favorite final girls, victims, and slashers about their time at Camp Blood. Along the way, we're going to get some cool behind-the-scenes stories and their thoughts on the legacy of this beloved horror franchise 45 years later. So let's ignore the warnings of the locals and take a trip back to Camp Crystal Lake. So let's go back to the beginning of your career. What first inspired you to become a director? What were some of your creative influences?
I think my story is similar to almost everybody who of my generation. You know, I was 9 years old. It's May 26th. It's a Saturday morning, and the Star Destroyer flies over my head. And I look up the screen, I just went, and I said out loud, I want to do that. And my father, because I was 9, thought I wanted to be an astronaut. And I said, no, I want to make that. But I will say my influences vary because I came out of theater. I was a theater kid and I mostly a musical theater kid. And so Bob Fosse was really sort of, but All That Jazz is to this day my favorite movie of all time. That said, I mean, I was raised by George Romero. I was raised by, Sam Raimi. These are the guys who were my creative fathers. And by the way, I mean, I grew up the best friend of Sean S. Cunningham's son, Noel. So I was immersed in all of that. The other thing that a lot of people don't know about me is that if you're a big fan of The Burning, the guy who plays Eddie is a guy named Ned Eisenberg. He's my uncle. We lost him a couple of years ago right after COVID, but yeah, thanks, man. But an amazing journeyman actor, and that guy, he's one of those people. He was on 65 episodes of Law and Order. He was, he's that guy. And my other uncle, Joe Ellison, was the writer, director, producer of Don't Go in the House.
Oh wow!
Yes. So I was immersed in horror from the beginning.
Absolutely, yeah. Kind of your destiny in the end.
It really was. I had no choice whatsoever. The legend has it my mother was reading Rosemary's Baby when she was pregnant with me, so kind of works out. My grandmother dated Ira Levin, so I think I was a little done for right from the top.
Moving to Jason Goes to Hell. Yeah. This took the franchise in a very different direction. What was your vision when you first signed on to direct it?
My vision for it, well, it was interesting. Sean offered me the opportunity to write and direct Jason Goes to Hell right after I had set up a movie called Johnny Zombie at Disney with Sean, which ended up becoming My Boyfriend's Back. So at 21, I already set up a movie at Disney, which is kind of amazing. And I turned to him because I was supposed to direct that movie, but Disney was never going to let a 21-year-old idiot direct an $8 million Disney movie. It's never going to happen. So I went to Sean and I said, you owe me a movie. Like, I got you all this money. Give me a movie. And he said, well, look, New Line is buying the rights from Paramount for the Jason series. If you can find a way to get that fucking hockey mask out of the movie, I'll let you write and direct it. And I was like, done. Like, okay. 5 minutes later, I was like, wait a minute, get the what out of the what now? What am I doing? But here's the thing. I wrote a treatment. 3 days later, I turned in a treatment to Sean. It was a much darker version of the movie than what we got. I mean, it was pitch dark. That said, he loved it. Sent it up to New Line. New Line loved it, and we were off to the races when I started writing. So I worked on the script until I was 23, and then Dean Lorre came in, who was my writing partner. He's the guy who wrote Johnny Zombie, aka My Boyfriend's Back, and then he wrote several drafts of the script, and so it's why we divided up the credits between story and screenwriting. So that was the idea. Yeah.
You somewhat answered this question with to get the hockey mask out of there, but I wanted to kind of talk about the opening, because that must have been a massive shock to audiences when it first dropped. Like, kind of what was your process of crafting that opening scene?
Actually, that was an amazing thing that happened. So we had built the movie, and I knew I wanted to get rid of Jason, like, right at the top. And I had a different version of that opening. And then there was a guy named Louis Abernathy who directed House 4 for Sean. But Louis, he actually did all the guns for our movie. He did all the electric guns and stuff. He was an armorer. Now, here's the thing. Louis, his biggest claim to fame, he's very close to James Cameron. He's in Titanic. He's the guy who goes into the submersible with Bill Paxton. Bearded guy, looks kind of like Harry Knowles, right? That guy. That's Louis Abernathy. So Louis, myself, Dean, and Sean all were in a kind of a meeting, and we basically came up with the FBI sting, because I kept saying, how is it this guy has killed over 100 people in a half-mile area of land and the feds are not involved? I said, local law enforcement ain't doing shit. Where's the feds? So the idea of, like, let's blow him up, let's really, like, let's shatter everyone's expectations. And what I said at that point was, I want to do a micro version of a Friday the 13th movie in 7 minutes. I want the opening of the movie to be an entire Friday the 13th film in 7 minutes. And that's where, beautiful young woman going to a cabin in the woods for no good reason, changing out light bulbs, taking a shower. Like, it was like, let's get her naked. And it was like, we're luring Jason. This is what Jason is pulled in by. So let's do, and also, not only that, but I was like, let's do every false scare, right? So she drops her bag and she dips down and comes back up, and there's empty slats. You're so waiting for the jump, for the moment. And you don't get it. And when you do get it, when Jason finally shows up, and there's that great moment where he looks over the banister at her, and there's that first great shot of him. I was like, I want to treat Kane's version of Jason not only as iconic as it is, but I want to make him larger than life. I want to make him superhero status. And so by creating that whole section of the movie, it set the audience up thinking like, oh, this is a great badass Friday the 13th opening. And then suddenly incoming and blow the motherfucker up. So, yeah. Oh, and by the way, interestingly enough, so in the script, Creighton Duke, the intro Creighton Duke, is he's sitting on a hill watching this whole thing go down, right? Yep. And in the script, he doesn't say anything. He just sits there watching. And as I was watching Steven watch the event, I walked over to Steven Williams and I said, hey, listen, just throw this in one take. Just say, I don't think so. Just try it. Just try it out. And so he does it, right? Says the line. Dean Laurie is on set with me. Dean turns to me and goes, motherfucker. I wrote that whole goddamn script. You just wrote the best line in the movie. I was like, don't hate me because I'm pretty. So, yeah. But you know what? That was kind of the experience of Jason Goes to Hell. Like, look, I graduated from NYU Film School, where you're all taught the auteur theory to death. I think that is some bullshit. Okay, and I love my education at NYU. I love NYU. I love what I got from them. But I got to tell you, man, making movies is a collaborative art form. It's a team sport. And if you're not working with your team, and I mean every member of your team, if a PA came up to me with a good idea, I'm like, great, let's do that. There has to be that sense of camaraderie. And that was the thing, like Dean and I constantly were riffing off of each other. I mean, that whole, he plays the coroner's assistant and the whole, I want to take a mango-sized crap on his mask. That was literally Dean and I riffing in our apartment because we lived together. And I'm like, no, man, let's just, And so much of the movie was about that spirit, that kind of, like, let's just go for it.
And you touched on him briefly, but I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Creighton Duke. You hint at so much kind of mystery to his background. Is there a character, is there a development of that character or a backdrop that you guys discussed that didn't make it into the film that audiences may not know about?
100%. I mean, we had a full backstory for Creighton. Here's the thing. There's only one reason that Creighton Duke exists. Only one. Dean Laurie and myself are the biggest Jaws nerds that ever lived. He is Quint. We don't pretend that he's not Quinn, and we even give him lines in the movie, you know? I'll give you the mask, the machete, the whole damn thing. It's right. We put it right out there.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, the thing about Creighton was that we had a full backstory for him, which we knew wouldn't get all of it wouldn't get in the movie. There was an incredible monologue that Steven did when he's in the Voorhees house, and you'll note there's a thing that happens. He says to Jessica, "You give me 2 minutes, and I'll give you your baby," right? And then it cuts to him giving her the baby. No, there was a 2-minute monologue there. We had a 2-minute monologue, which was about the fact that Creighton was on the lake at Camp Crystal Lake. Him and his girlfriend had gone out on a canoe together, and the canoe was capsized with something underneath them. And Creighton watched this woman that he loved, this girl that he was madly in love with, that he was engaged to, get pulled to the bottom, and he tried to get her back, and she was gone. And it's that moment that he dedicated his life to. I will find the motherfucker who took my girl. And so that's when he starts becoming a bounty hunter. That's when he starts going into local law enforcement. That's when he transforms into the bounty hunter Creighton.
Gosh, that was his Indianapolis.
Yes, 100%, and that's how we structured it.
Man,
yeah.
Is that out there somewhere for us to catch?
I think there might be. I will tell you. I don't even think it made it to the work print. Because they were so concerned about timing. New Line needed the movie to be under 90 minutes. Like, that was the edict, right? It's got to be 90 minutes. So if it's going to be 90 minutes, here's what happens. When you make a movie under 90 minutes, you get an extra screening a day. So they weren't wrong. I mean, it made 20% more money because of that, especially opening weekend. That said, it's one of those things that I really hate that it's not in the movie.
That's a tough cut.
Breaks my heart. Yeah, it breaks my heart.
Well, I hope someday fans can check that out.
I don't know why Warner Brothers is so sort of like protective over the archives to that degree, because I will tell you, there have been 2 different petitions signed by thousands and thousands of people for me to go make a real director's cut of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy to do it for free. Like, I would do it for nothing, but they just won't let us go into the archives. It's crazy, right? Because, like, I'm willing to do the work for free. You don't pay me. Like, I just want to do it. I just want to do what the fans want. Nothing. That sucks. Yeah. Yep. But look, a lot of this, you know, part of the thing that I have done over the last, 6 years, is I had been asked for forever to do a documentary about the movie, mostly because I couldn't do a director's cut, right? So everybody wanted to know what's the story behind the movie, what happened, and also the fact that, look, I was 23 years old when I directed this. I mean, it is nuts. Like, it's nuts. 23-year-old, you know, helming horror's biggest franchise. And I know right now, the people who are watching this and watching me right now are like, yeah, fuck you, man. As I like to say, you know, not everybody loves Charlie and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Some people are like, fuck you, Charlie. And I get it. I do get that. I do understand it. That said, no, the thing is that I said, look, if the fans want a documentary about this movie, I'm happy to do it for no money. I'll do it for free. I'll just make the thing happen. But I won't get paid, but I got to pay everybody else who's going to get involved. And so if the fans want to support it and pay for the movie, I'll make the movie. Sadly, they paid for the movie in less than a month. And I was like, oh shit, now I got to go make this thing. So, no, I got to tell you, it was a joy because, look, I was meeting with people who I hadn't seen in 25 years. So, yeah. And an incredible cast, incredible crew, brilliant artists. And we all came together and made this little documentary, Hearts of Darkness, The Making of the Final Friday. And by the way, the reason it's called Hearts of Darkness, because a lot of people ask, isn't that the Apocalypse Now documentary? Yes, it is. And there's a tie-in. There's actually a reason.
Right.
So when I was first making Jason Goes to Hell, it was called Friday the 13th, Part 9. And I wanted to find a subtitle for the movie, right? So I was a pretentious, NYU film school grad. And I was going to be 23 when I was directing this. And I went and looked and I went, wait a minute, wasn't Orson Welles 23 when he was going to direct his first movie? I went back and looked. I was like, oh, he was. He was going to be directing a version of Joseph Conrad's The Heart of Darkness. My movie is about a guy eating a heart and it becoming a thing.
Right.
So suddenly it was Friday the 13th, The Heart of Darkness. When we found out we couldn't have Friday the 13th because New Line had not bought the title, they just bought the characters and the situation for the first movie and Jason. I couldn't even have Tommy Jarvis because Stephen Freeman was supposed to be Tommy Jarvis in my movie. So I couldn't use Heart of Darkness in my title. So when we went to make the documentary, I was like, no, that's the beginning of the story, is how this title didn't get used. So The Heart of Darkness making the final Friday is now done. It took 6 years to get it done because we had COVID for 3 years in LA. People don't realize, like in LA, it was different than everywhere else on Earth. And then a year of strikes where I couldn't do anything. And here's the thing. We have this doc that is not what anybody's expecting because it's about a horror movie, but it is so sweethearted and like lovely. And it's about filmmaking and about what a group of disparate people, what an island of misfit toys can do when they come together to actually make a mission happen. And it's so much more the movie I wished it could be, but I didn't know it could be. And, you know, my director, Michael Felsher, who was, you know, George Romero's personal documentarian for the last 15 years of his life, who has done literally hundreds of documentaries, he came onto this thing and really drove the boat in a direction that this film is winning awards all over the world right now. We literally just won Best Documentary at the Ravenheart International Film Festival in Oslo, Norway. Just happened. And we are, you know, on to a slew of other festivals before the movie drops from Synapse, from Red Shirt Releasing in October. So it'll be out in October, on physical media and you ain't gonna be able to get it on streaming for a while. We're giving that physical release time to breathe because I believe in physical releases. I believe in physical media. I think streaming has got to change. Otherwise, filmmakers won't be able to make movies anymore.
Very pro physical media, so get it, dude.
Yeah. But by the way, all of us, like the fandom, and I consider I'm a big part of that fan. I am a fan. I'm a stupid fan. I've got over 16,000 movies in my house on physical media. Like, we all feel this way. Like, it's us that keeps this stuff alive. So as long as we're willing to go out and actually hunt down these discs and pay for these discs and pay for somebody's hard labor, we can save our industry. We're the ones who will save it. Yeah.
Buy physical media, guys.
Damn Skippy.
How does it feel like? This must be very cathartic for you that fans really have come to embrace this over the years after tumultuous responses here and there, I'm sure. How does it feel seeing fans really embracing this movie now?
I actually can't begin to tell you how amazing it is to have fans actually start to rediscover the movie. Here's the thing. The movie was not hated the same way when it first came out. I went to a lot of theaters. I probably went to 30 or 40 theaters to watch the movie with people in the first few weeks. And the response was euphoric. I mean, dude, let's put it this way. Is there a better last shot of a Friday the 13th movie than Freddy's glove pulling the mask? Come on. So we had this great response. And then years went by. I was making other movies. I was having a career. And then there was this, douche nozzle who made a movie on YouTube called How New Line Destroyed the Friday the 13th franchise. And suddenly, this tsunami of hatred came at us. It was crazy. And I'm telling you, the cast, the crew, everybody, we were like, what is happening? By the way, the author of that video at this convention, at Crystal Lake Nightmares, just came up to my table, admitted that he was the one who made that video. Him and I had a beautiful conversation. He came to our panel yesterday. He said to me, I have to tell you, I'm the douche nozzle. I was like, what? Wow. And that he had the balls to come up and talk to me already says a ton about him. Like, that's amazing. He bought a poster for me to sign to the douche nozzle. And he said, I saw the movie last night. Yeah, it's pretty great. I'm like, thank God. So even if he can turn around on this movie, anybody can turn around on this movie. But by the way, look, here's the other thing. I think it's a false thing for filmmakers to think that they're making a movie for everybody. You can't. You're going to have an audience that loves you, an audience that's indifferent, and an audience who can't stand what you did, no matter what movie you make. So you know what? Make the movie you want to see. Make your movie. And you'll find an audience. If you make a movie that you're proud of, that you know, like, no, that's what I want to see on the screen, I guarantee you will find others that go the same thing. They go, no, that's the movie I want to see.
And you briefly touched on, the famous ending where the Freddy Krueger glove comes up, but I also wanted to touch on, I was watching this for the umpteenth time, and my girlfriend had never seen it, and she ended up sitting down, and when the Necronomicon showed up, she goes, what? Like, audibly, she's huge response. How did that end up coming about?
The Necronomicon, okay, so I knew I wanted the Evil Dead lore. Again, as I said, I was raised by Sam Raimi. I mean, when I was a kid, seeing Evil Dead was, mind-blowing. When I started to build the movie, one of the biggest problems I have with the franchise in general is that in 1980, you end up with a 11-year-old boy coming out of the lake to attack Alice. Okay. 2 weeks later, you have somebody who's gained 150 pounds of body weight, who's learned how to read because you have to go to the light pages to find out where someone lives, learned how to drive because I don't think Jason just walked through town holding a head in his hand. And suddenly, this guy has got an incredible sense of you because he goes into the house, he plants the head in the fridge, and then he hides. And he's like, no, wait, this is going to be amazing. Wait till she's going to come to the refrigerator, and then I'm going to kill her. So that's not an 11-year-old boy with a hydrocephalic head who drowned in the lake in the 50s. That's not the same guy, right? Okay, so if that's what we're dealing with magic. We're literally from part 1 to part 2. If you go forward, you end up with Frankenstein's monster by part 6. In part 5, it's just some guy who has a picture of Jason in his wallet. By the way, who took that picture? Who took the picture in the wallet? Who took the picture? By the way, I said that the day I saw the movie. I said, all of it made sense. Even, like, Roy is great at makeup effects, so he makes a cowl. Okay, I'll buy that. But who took the fucking picture of Jason that he's got in his wallet? What, are you kidding me? So, with all of the kind of supernatural elements of this franchise, I said, what would make sense? Pamela Voorhees would do anything to get her kid back. Anything, right? She wouldn't turn to the dark arts. She wouldn't get herself an Necronomicon. By the way, for those of you that go like, well, the Evil Dead took place in the hills of blah, 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 blah. Stop it. There's more than one Necronomicon. Oh, for the love of God. Well, now you find 50 at this particular convention. But she would have read those incantations. Now imagine Jason wakes up at the bottom of Crystal Lake, this 11-year-old boy, and he's covered in just 40 years of muck and mire. And he's terrified to swim to the surface, right? One of the first things he gets to see is his mom by the edge of the lake. And it's my mom. And her head is cut off by this woman. Well, that would get the 11-year-old kid to come up and pull that girl to the bottom, but he's still an 11-year-old boy. But here's the thing. If he's been raised by the Necronomicon, if that's what brought him back up, well, now I buy him having 150 pounds of body weight and a sense of humor and being able to drive and being able to read. I buy all of it. Jason Goes to Hell is the Rogue One of the Friday the 13th franchise. We cover that 4-meter hole in the Death Star that allows Luke to blow it up.
To touch on the Freddy of it all, too, was that always meant to tee up Freddy versus Jason, or was that just more of a nod to the fans at the time?
100% nod to the fans. The New Line never said put Freddy in the movie. They had no interest. I had been coming up with all these little Easter eggs to put in the movie, and they were all over the place. By the way, for the Necronomicon people, when they go, oh, Adam's making that up, it's just a thing that he's saying retroactively. Really? So, why is it the Kandarian dagger that kills Jason? Because that's what kills Jason. Look at the dagger before Jessica grabs it. It's the Kandarian dagger. That's literally what I gave them drawings of what I wanted. The prop guys gave me that knife. So that's what I was doing. That's it. I was coming up with all kinds of like fun Easter eggs we could put in the movie. And I suddenly was like, wait a second. New Line owns Freddy outright. And my roommates were getting stoned to the bejesus. Were like, yeah, I think so, dude. I was like, okay, So shouldn't they just sent Freddy to hell because they just did Freddy's Dead? Who better to drag Jason to hell than Freddy? Oh my God! And I called Mark Ordesky and Mike DeLuca, got them out of bed late at night, and I said, "Hey, can I get Freddy's glove and the laugh, Robert's laugh?" And they're like, "What do you want it for?" And I pitched them the ending. These two guys lived in opposite sides of LA. You could hear them high-five each other from 5 miles apart. Couldn't have been more excited. I had the glove the next day.
And lastly, this film has a couple different versions. There's obviously the unrated cut, the preferred cut. What was the hardest thing for you to cut as a filmmaker to get that into theaters?
Oh, well, the 10 kill. I mean, look, the 10 kill is... It's in the top 2 of the kills, or top 3, let's say. The ones that I always hear, sleeping bag, tent kill. Recently, I've heard the freezing face in X is another big fan favorite. But we're in the top 3, okay? That kill, it's Bob Kurtzman's, one of his favorite effects he's ever done. We had more fun shooting that than anything else in the movie. We just had a ball. That was hard to cut. That was really hard to cut. That said, New Line had asked me to shoot stuff that they knew would get cut. They told me, you're going to get eviscerated with the MPAA, but trust us, it's all for a good reason. They couldn't have been more right, man, because they put out... Jason Goes to Hell became the biggest video sale of New Line's history because they put out a rated and an unrated cut, so now every mom and pop shop had to buy 2 copies instead of 1. They doubled their sales.
3 cheers for vindication, man. It all worked out in the end, I'd say.
Skippy. Damn Skippy, brother.
Well, thanks for taking this time with us. Like I said, we all love this movie at the network.
JoBlo. I love JoBlo, always have. You guys have been amazing. Look, you've been amazing to me, which is really lovely. But I have to say, you guys are one of the best resources for not just pop culture, but for keeping movies that might have forgotten to be in the zeitgeist. And there's nothing better that can happen for a filmmaker is when somebody like you guys, who are respectful and really good at what you do, brings something back into the consciousness of an audience who might not know it even exists. JoBlo rocks. You guys rock.
So that's going to do it for me at Crystal Lake Nightmares. From JoBlo.com, I have been Ryan Coltrera. Stay safe out there, campers.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo remains an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.